Ashe, Mott, Imhotep. This is The Truth May Hurt, and I'm Ray Witcher, and I will be your host. We want to go over a few things. The presentation today is the First Trinity and who is Moses. All right. Before we get to that, we want to add a couple of things to the previous presentation when we were talking about C.C. Jones. Matter of fact, let me see if I have that still up. I don't think I do. No, I don't. C.C. Jones, when I showed you his instructions for Negroes in America, that document started in 1620. Remember, we were made slaves in 1619. All right. So 1 year after we were made slaves, Reverend C.C. Jones came up with the instructions for Negroes in America of how the church will indoctrinate slaves. All right. Remember back in the foundation of racism, I showed you that in 1618, King James started the Royal African Company and made it law. Well, the Royal African Company were the ships used during the transatlantic slave trade. The first ships in the transatlantic slave trade were King James ships. And he opened a company called the Royal African Company in 1618. So a year before we were made slaves, King James started his Royal African Company. And remember, his Bible was released in 1611. So what I'm showing you is this was a business, right? This was a well-planned business. Okay. So I wanted to bring that into Reverend C.C. Jones. And I'm showing the history of how they put this business in place. Okay. So I wanted to bring that out. Okay, and I want to ask you a question. Do you believe one God who created everyone, created one group or groups to destroy each other? All right. And that's what makes religion so dangerous, is because each group believes, all of them are believers that their God is the only God. They gave them the rights to enslave or kill everybody like them. All right. So you have to believe that, to believe in these religious doctrine, that God wants them to enslave everyone that's not like them, and they have the right to eliminate them if they don't convert into their belief system. So I wanted to bring that out. All right. Let me bring my clock up. Please hold on. Right. Okay. I try to keep these in between 40 and 50 minutes. I don't want to make them too long. I know everybody doesn't have time, but I'm trying to show you things that are tangible, that you can see for yourself. You can read for yourself and evaluate these things for yourself. All right. All right. So the other thing I want to ask you is, I have a slide on here for that. I think I'll move it up and right after I say this. Do pastors, now I'm not talking about all pastors, all right? I'm talking about these mega pastors. I'm really talking most of all about the mega pastors, the ones that the way they live far exceeds their need. All right. So my question is, do these pastors seem like they are afraid of going to hell? Do any of these pastors seem like they have any fear whatsoever that their behavior is going to cause them to go in hell and burn in a fire? Okay. Okay. They're robbing the church. They're robbing who they say they serve. And they don't have any fear of it. Right? They know that this is made up. Right? They know that this is make-believe. Now, let's look at the things that the church affiliates with this make-believe. Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, all of this fairy tale make-believe stuff should never be involved in something so serious as your faith. Okay? And you're trying to center things around on what's real, reality, what you can believe. But everything that you're telling your kids is make-believe. Okay? It's dangerous. Okay? And then when you look at it, for adults to believe that the church is going to lie to the children and not going to lie to the adults. Okay, so the children outgrew Santa Claus, but the adults, they just refuse to let Jesus Christ go. All right, so we're going to get into this. Again, this is the circle of your realm of understanding. I'm just going to narrate it a little bit. You can read it, but understand that none of us know all that there is to know. All right. And once we step outside of our realm of understanding and our consciousness, we can see that there's more outside of our realm of understanding than what's in it. All right. This one is very important because it applies to everyone, and it is the link that was broken and why we are so disconnected, especially the Black race, meaning we disassociate from everybody but ourselves. Okay, you know, American blacks don't consider themselves African. Well, you are African, all right. We are Jamaican. Jamaicans are us. We are Haitian. Haitians are us. We are all one. And they have some division down in the Latinos too. You know, the El Salvadorans and the Guatemalans. They don't. It's to divide the race within the race. If they can keep us focusing on hating each other instead of focusing on helping each other, we will never see the root cause of our problems. Okay, so we need to get out of that. But the main thing of this slide is that we're never alone, and most of us that go through issues, whether it is mental or addiction or suicide thoughts, is because we feel that we're alone. And this slide, now the previous slide is a way that Dr. Ray Hagins explains it. And I encourage everyone to go on YouTube and watch Dr. Ray Hagins, The African Village. This slide, Dr. Professor Kaba, K-A-B-A, Kameni, K-A-M-E-N-E. He did a study, and they came up with the formula to associate how many ancestors we have, okay? And I'm pretty sure he says, and go on YouTube and please join and subscribe to these guys, okay? Another one is Professor James Smalls, Professor Anthony Rauder, Professor Dr. Henry Clark, Dr. Ben Yosef Ben Yatman. Okay, watch these guys. Okay, a lot of the things that I found have been confirmed by them, and I share some of the things that I see them because I know it drives home the point. But watch these guys, all right? But this shows that we are never alone, because once we can put back that spiritual link that they destroyed, we get the link back to all of our ancestors. So this shows we have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 great-great-great-grandparents. And if you track this back 500 years, you have over 1 million, a couple of 100,000 ancestors. Okay, but that's just if you go back 500 years. So you're never alone. And if one of these ancestors didn't make it, you wouldn't be here. So you are special, okay? You won the race as far as being born into life, all right? And just remember, yesterday is your past, tomorrow's your future, today is your present, and that's why it is the Creator's gift to you. Take advantage of it, all right? So pause the video and read over here so that you can understand what's going on over here. All right, we're gonna move on. All right, everyone, I had to come back and I had to cut this part out because the volume, you couldn't hear my voice. So I'm editing this first part back in. This is the first Holy Trinity in Egypt, all right? And if you notice, the Christian Trinity is Father, Son, Holy Ghost. They removed the woman from the equation. All right. It's never been the African and the Egyptian way to minimize the woman, remove the woman, any of those things. That's the European way. They basically they hate women almost as much as they hate black people. But this is the first Trinity. And if you see here the sun disk and the horns, whenever you see a picture of Jesus Christ, he always has the sun disk behind his head. All right. So they kept what they wanted of our symbols. They kept what they wanted, and they replaced the woman in most of the Christianity, Islam, Judaism. The woman is in the background, not in Egyptian mythology, not in the Egyptian and African teachings, okay? All right, so I just wanted to come back in and edit this because the volume completely dropped out from this part of the presentation. So I'm gonna cut this back in and I'm gonna let the video pick up explaining exactly who these Egyptian people are. All right, this is who the story of Jesus is copied from right here, Haru. This is the Father, the Son. This is Asar. This is a Set. This is Haru. Father, mother, child is the first Trinity. Okay, there is no balance without the woman. All right, our training, teachings, mythology. But see, first of all, the first recognized God was not a man. It was a woman, the goddess Hathor. And you see this sun disk on her head with the horns? That is on the head of Hathor. This is the sun disk. These are the horns of the sacred bull. Okay, now if you notice, most of the pictures of Jesus Christ always have the sun behind his head. You will see they call it a halo. They may call it several things, but it's this. This is what you see. The Son of God with the sun behind his head. So that is, this is the first. Now, you can read this, all right? I think I have the links attached, okay? All right? This is where the Christian got this concept from. All right, so you can read all of this history, so you can know they're selling us our own story, charging us 10% because we don't know. All right, get out of the believing game. See, I'm not asking anybody to believe me. I'm asking you not to believe me. If I was asking you to believe me, I'd be starting a religion. Don't believe. We weren't made to believe, we were made to know. This is the first and the oldest story of any Trinity right here. The Holy Trinity in ancient Egypt. Okay. Every other story of a Trinity came from here. Somebody find something and prove me wrong. Okay? Just prove me wrong. See, now go back to the foundation of racism. When I was talking about the Willie Lynch letter of how to make a slave. You see, all of this is indoctrination. The C.C. Jones is the instructions for Negroes in America. The Willie Lynch letter of how to make a slave, go back and listen to when he said, we have to break the natural nature of the nigger like we break the natural nature of the horse. So when you break the natural nature of the black people by removing the mother, there is no more balance. There is no more balance. And replacing the mother with the Holy Ghost that doesn't exist. It is a part of a fairy tale that they made up in the Nicene Council in 325 AD. I have all of the councils of the Catholic Church, and it shows each and every step that they used to make this up. It's in one of the previous videos. I can't remember which one. All right. But if you comment and say, hey, can you give me the 21 Catholic councils? I'll send it right to you. You can read it step by step how they created this. Okay, so the Willie Lynch letter says that we will remove and change the natural nature of the Negroes. I'm gonna say Negroes. He said niggers. May as well say it. All right, they made up the word, not me. We will change and take away the natural nature of the Negro, which changes the natural balance of the black family. We're gonna throw that out of harmony. That's what they did here, all right? They changed the balance and removed the mother out of the Trinity and put in a Holy Ghost, right? So we're gonna move on, and I just wanna show you that. So when we are talking about the first Trinity, when you're talking about the Trinity, you wanna know what was the first Trinity. And you can read it all here, all right? Set and Haru. All right, is the early deception of Mary and Jesus. The Black Madonna and Child reigned throughout Europe for centuries. See, the first Christian symbol was the Black Madonna and the Black baby Jesus. They couldn't take it, so they had to change that image. Okay, but you can read this here. I don't want to read it to you because I don't want to make this any longer than what it needs to be. Just pause it and read it. All right, and let me minimize this. Okay. Now, the first Immaculate Conception. Where do I have? The first Immaculate Conception is the Immaculate Conception of Haru. Okay, from his mother, Asar. All right, and I'm just going to briefly give you a summary of how the story goes. Her husband was killed. Asar was killed. And I think he was killed by his brother. Now, I may be getting some of this wrong, and I don't want somebody to just tie me down and say, oh, you got this part wrong, you got that part wrong. I'm giving you the best that I can on how the story of Jesus started. Now, I may get a little bit of this story twisted up. Just all you have to do. Listen, this is the age of information and technology. I want you to look it up. I want you to verify it for yourself. But he was killed, and he was dismembered. He was cut up into like 14 pieces or whatever. And he and his wife had never consummated their marriage. They had never had sex. She found all of the pieces of his body and she put him back together. Okay? But she couldn't find one piece, and it was his sexual piece. She could not be with him in a conventional way. All right? So after she had put him back together and she had him laid out on a table, she turned herself into a bird and she lowered herself onto him and conceived a child. The immaculate conception of their son to be born, Haru. The first immaculate conception story. Okay? It's just a little different and, changed around for the immaculate conception story of Jesus, the immaculate conception story of Krishna. All of them have an immaculate conception story, but it's mythology. It's not historical. Okay. So I'm showing you, and see, here it is. There is the link. Okay. No, let me see if I have this link still here. I don't have my up here, and I'm not going to pause. I'm just going to go back and explain to you. Go to this location, copy this, and go in your search engine and bring up this. Because these are the parts of Ma'at to show the balance. Ma'at is about balance, okay? And you can't have balance unless you have male and female principles, both in the universe and in human society. Okay? So when you look at balance, this is balance. When you look at the Christian Trinity, it's not balanced. There is no woman. Yeah. The woman is the part of society, like it or not, that keeps it in balance. Not a society without women, and it won't exist long. It's not only part of balance, but it's the woman that creates or that life comes through. Right? So removing her is not a part of Egyptian teachings, mythology, or anything. All right? We don't want to have a part of that. That's not ours. Okay? The woman is what made the pharaohs complete. They didn't and couldn't rule their kingdom successfully without the woman. She was the balance. All right? Just keep that in mind. All right? Okay, I had to cut this part in too, because for some reason my volume dropped out, but I'm not going to read through the whole video. I'm just going to add this in. We want to go over Malachi 3, verses 8 through 12. We've all heard this in church, usually when it's time to take up money in collection, all right? And they will read Malachi 3, chapter 3, verses 8 through 12. Will a mere mortal rob God? Yet you rob me. Okay? And it's talking about the way they present this to the congregation is that the congregation is robbing God by not paying their fair tithes. And they're leaving, verse 10, bring the whole tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, say the Lord Almighty. The preachers in the church will play this on the congregation like you are robbing God. Okay? But that's not what it's saying. If we go back to Malachi 2, it tells you who's robbing God. And it starts off saying, and now, you priest, this warning is for you, not the congregation. And it goes on down through here, and it tells them, if you do not listen, And if you do not resolve to honor my name, says the Lord Almighty, I will send a curse on you, and I will curse your blessings. Yes, I have already cursed them because you have not resolved and honored me. Because of you, I will rebuke your descendants. I will smear on your face the dung of your festival sacrifices, and you will be carried off with it. So he's telling the priests, the congregation is bringing in the tithes, and you're robbing my store. You're leaving my store bare. It's you, not the congregation. So when the preacher starts standing up in church reading Malachi 3 and 8, ask him to go back and read Malachi 2. Now, this might not cut in right, but we're going to go back to the video and let it finish up. The volume was messed up on this part, and we're going to edit this in. You want to read it to the church. Tell them keep their money in the pocket. Ask, where's the pastor's money? You know, these pastors that, I'm not bashing all pastors, because most pastors work. Most pastors have jobs, okay? They have a source of income. But now you think about it. You think about this. Pastors that only get their income from the church, they're vulnerable because they can be compromised. Meaning, once you know the truth that I'm showing here, and if you start preaching it, your church will be empty in 3 or 4 Sundays. You won't have a job. How you gonna pay your bills? How you gonna survive? So it's a horrible situation to be in. That a pastor has to choose between, do I continue teaching and preaching this lie and get paid well, or do I tell my congregation the truth? And I don't know how to do anything else. It's a tough spot. So, you know, I can't tell a pastor, you know, that's in that situation what I would do, because I'm not in that situation. Okay, but I can suggest to pastors that really know that this is, you know, made up and not true, to pray on it, first of all. And hey, send me an email, richard7107@gmail.com. You know, let's talk. Let's see if it's something we can do together. But it has to stop. It has to change. You know, we have to come with a way to do this and get the truth out without the real people that want to be a part of telling the truth starving. Okay, that they've been in the church for 20 years and now they know the truth. And if they start preaching it, their family's going to suffer. So we have to come up with a way to do this, and people and the pastor's family not starve. All right. So let's move on. All right. Now this is a little controversial. All right, and I put it at the end because the documents that I had on it that showed that it's factual, I can't find it. You know, now for 10 years, I hadn't been on a computer for 10 years. I did everything off of my smartphone, and everything I've had and collected is in the phone, and I'm trying to get it where I can get my hands on it. So I'm very unorganized, and as far as being able to retrieve what I want to retrieve when I need to retrieve it. But there is an article, and there is information out there about the Panari Indians. Okay? And the Christian missionaries, back in the 1970s, they went to missionaries went into remote areas and found this group called the Paneri Indians. Now, this article says that it was the Colorado Valley, and they found unable to convince the residents of the Paneri Indians to accept the faith of Jesus Christ. To overcome this dilemma, they took the mother tongue. However, it was quickly realized that before the Indians could be made to accept the acceptance of the salvation, they had to be given something to feel guilty about them. Okay, so now there's another article that the Paneri Indians are down in Venezuela. Now, I don't know if the Colorado Valley, I have to find that out. I have to look it up a little bit more. But I've seen the articles. I just can't put my hands on it that authenticate that this happened. But what the Catholic Church did was there was no translation in the Paneri language of being saved or going to hell and these kind of things. So they came up with and said that the Paneri Indians killed Jesus because they were wicked. So they had to give the Paneri Indians something to feel guilty about, all right, to save them, all right. And then they say they laid a cross on the ground, and they told them that because the Paneri Indians killed Jesus, they were going to burn in fire. Okay, they didn't understand hell, but they understood burning in fire. And the Paneri Indians started screaming, "I don't want to burn in fire." And they did this to convert them into Christianity. All right. Wait a minute. I might have it right here. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let me pause this for a second. I think I might have it. All right, hold on. Okay. Okay, sorry, hold on. Now, I can't qualify this 100%, but you can read this, all right, about the Paneri Indians, all right, and how the Catholic Church rewrote a Bible, and you can look up the Paneri Bible, okay? They wrote up a Paneri Bible just for the Paneri Indians, right? And they had to reword it in a way to make them feel guilty. So they said they killed Jesus Christ, all right? Now, this sister is on Facebook and YouTube. Now, I can't qualify anything just by what she says. But if you look down here on this article, the big question is, is this true? It says yes, it is. And then it has information down here to qualify it. And I have other documents that are linked down that give support. And if you look at the history of the Catholic Church, they're famous for this kind of stuff, okay? So you can look at these links here. This is the fact check link I just had. And this one here. And here's the information over here about it. When you look at what they did in the Nicene Council of 325 AD, this is the same thing that this is being reported here, right? This is about Thutmoses, all right? And this Thutmoses, the biblical Moses, all right? When I say that I trace a lot of stuff back that we're taught in Christianity, back to Egypt, this is a lot of the information, all right? So you can read this and then go look up the information on Thutmoses and read this information over here, all right? I'm saying that there is a correlation and a parallel between these two mythical stories, even though they say Moses is historical, okay? So look at these things, all right? and this is about Akhenaten. All right, so all of this goes together. Now, I'm giving you these three, all right, without all of the qualifications that I usually try to give you, all right? But go back and look at, go on YouTube and look at Dr. John Henry Clark. Look at Professor Kaba Kameni, Dr. John Henry Clark, Professor James Smalls, Professor Anthony Broder, Browder. They're saying the same things. And these are the professionals, all right? All of them are experts on Egyptian spirituality, culture, and history. Matter of fact, Professor Anthony Browder, he's excavating an Egyptian tomb now. Okay, these guys know what they're talking about. All right, so I'm not going to try to sit here and say that I know all about this. All right, but the guys' names I just called, they do. Okay, so I'm not gonna try to elaborate on it much. I'm gonna give you some of this information, and I'm gonna guide you to the professional resources that that can qualify it. All right, so just look at it. All right, and we'll go from there. But for now, I'm gonna end this video. I don't want to make them too long. I want to thank everybody for subscribing, sharing, and liking. Please send your comments. Needed to come back and clarify or clean up one thing. I mentioned to the ministers that really want to preach the truth, that you could send me an email and maybe we can do it together. Maybe we can, maybe we can make it happen. All right. But I when I was editing this, I noticed I gave you the wrong email address. The email address that you need to reach me on is my last name, WITCHER7104 at gmail.com. Not 7107, 7104 at gmail.com. So we can get together and talk. Let's get together and talk. All right. But feel free to send me an email. And anyone else that would like to send me an email, whether it is positive or negative feedback on what I'm doing, feel free to send me an email. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Ashe.